please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to our board meeting tonight. Our President Sarenbetz is out traveling today for work and so is not here, so I will be taking over. So please forgive me for it's been a while since I've done this. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held
Today's. Oh yeah,
1/23 of 23, please.
so moved.
And a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. That motion passes. Okay, we have several people wishing to address the board tonight. So based on the agenda, we will be doing non-agenda items first. And so we are going to start with Dan, is it Eisenvoss? Is that correct? And just because we do have some new faces today, I'm going to just go through some of our participation rules. So this part of the agenda is available for individuals wishing to address the board about a district-related subject. Individuals wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of the meeting with a business manager or designee. The speaker is limited to 5 minutes, regardless of the number of subjects the person wishes to cover. If multiple individuals sign up to speak on the same topic, total testimony of the topic shall be limited to 15 minutes per side of the issue as determined by the president. Just some general decorum to keep in mind. Anyone addressing the board must give start with your name and address. You may not give any oral complaints regarding district personnel or personnel actions. Complaints regarding district personnel are to be addressed to the superintendent in private or in writing to the superintendent and board members in accordance with policy KEB/KEBR. The speaker may not offer personal attacks against any individual. The speaker may not give oral complaints identifying individual students. Complaints regarding individual students are to be addressed to the superintendent in private or in writing. And the board president, at his or her discretion, may request the administration or another board member to respond to a person addressing the board immediately following the input, or may direct the administration to respond in writing. So thank you for letting me go through that. So we are going to start with Dan, and we are going to be talking initially here about an educational gardening partnership. And I do have 3 individuals that would like to speak on that. So you will each get 5 minutes total. So we'll start with Dan, and I guess I don't know if Megan wants to go. Oh, sorry, we only have 2 people on that. My bad. 2 people. So you guys will get 10 minutes total on that topic.
And then
Cynthia will
like a 1 minute. And
give you a warning
seconds,
as you get close. If you happen to be looking up at that time.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think Principal Meese will be here to join us. He had another obligation at Garfield tonight, but he was going to try to be here to kind of explain our partnership. So
I'm going to pause you really quick. Sorry, unless you're going to say your
my
name.
name and address.
Awesome.
My name is
Thank you.
Dan Eisenvoss. I live at 713 South Maple Avenue here in Sioux Falls. This is my wife.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll let my wife introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Megan Eisenvoss. Thanks for having us tonight. It's good to be here.
We're here to talk about Iron Fox Farm as kind of a good news report to the board, and we just want to let you know what's going on with Eugene Field Elementary and some grants that we are pursuing in hopes that we can expand educational gardening to other schools within the district. So Megan and I are owners of Iron Fox Farm. It is 2 blocks away from Eugene Field Elementary. We've developed an educational gardening partnership with 3rd and 4th grade classrooms, about 130 students at Eugene Field. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So here you can see, I don't know if you can see or not, this is what the lot used to be. It was a vacant lot. It's in a FEMA designated floodplain. Developers couldn't build there. They could, but it would have cost a lot of money. Megan and I were fortunate enough to strike a bargain with the seller, and we have developed it into an educational gardening space with 6 individual garden plots for the Eugene Field students, and then we have 2 larger plots that we do some production for ourselves and to try to give to the community. To show you where we're at, on the map here, there's Eugene Field Elementary on the right-hand side. If you go 2 blocks west off 13th Street, you can see where that expanse of grass is. That's right along the railroad. So that's kind of where it sits. And then a Google Earth image shows what we've done with it here. So we've expanded a lot of growing space. Unfortunately, the rabbits have destroyed all our fruit trees, so we're going to double that growing space this winter, or not, this spring. But we have a lot of exciting things going on, and we're going to push this forward no matter what, and we're going to try to involve more grades at Eugene Field. But really, what we're telling you about this, but we're also looking for that good faith partnership that if we were to get a lot of funding, we'd like to go to another school and do something similar. So I'm going to let Megan talk a little bit about our partnership with Eugene Field.
So when we got the lot, we wanted to make sure we utilized the space the best that we could for our neighborhood. And since Eugene Field is just a couple blocks away, we thought it would be the perfect partnership. And Dan just cold called Mr. Meese and pitched our idea, and we're so grateful for him to be so brave with this offer, and the teachers that have been so flexible to help this become a success. We first went into the classroom in the spring of 2022, so just last year, and we had a couple in-classroom sessions where we talked about how to read a seed packet, get information that you need, and then we had them make a mock garden plot to prepare them for when they came to the garden when it was warm enough. And then each class section of the 3rd and 4th graders came and planted a garden plot as a class together. We planted all sorts of things, tomatoes, peppers, okra, onions, potatoes, squash, and then each student got to plant a seed of their choice, which you maybe could guess. Each of them wanted to plant a watermelon, so we had to kind of adjust as we went along. Then through the summer, we invited students and their families through open house hours during the summer. And then in the fall, this last fall, they came back as 4th and 5th graders to harvest. And we had them in different rotations where they harvested all the fruit or vegetables that were available and then washed them. And then by the end of the session, everyone had a bag of produce to take home. And it was so exciting to see the joy on their faces and the excitement that they had about beets and getting their hands dirty and worms and caring for the soil and like just really, really pure joy, which was fun to be a part of. We would not have been able to do any of this without the partnership with Eugene Field and the staff there and our volunteers and different organizations that we've partnered with. We have one of our favorite volunteers here, Mrs. Heithold, a 3rd grade teacher at Terry Redlin, has been an all-star for us, and just different partnerships throughout the community. And so this is just one example of what farm to school can look like. We're one example of hundreds across the country of how different growers are engaging with students to learn, have hands-on learning with their food, whether it's a farm tour or a garden program at the school or procurement of local fruits and vegetables in the school lunch, breakfast, and snack programs. So the greater goal for Farm to School is to empower children and their families to make informed food choices while strengthening the local economy and contribute to vibrant communities. And the cool thing about Farm to School also is that there are substantial funds available federally for Farm to School programs. Just today, I was reading an article about a program in Kentucky where the University of Kentucky was able to get $225,000 from federal dollars for Farm to School programs, and they are impacting 10 schools right now in their region and expanding to more. So then when I think about the positive impact that they're having in their students, we just started with 1 year with just 3rd and 4th graders from this one school, and that was 130 students. And to think about if Farm to School could grow in Sioux Falls, like how many students and how much of a positive impact that can have for our youth and our community here in Sioux Falls.
One thing I failed to mention is I've been in front of this board as a student of Southeast Tech and as an instructor at Southeast Tech HVAC, and now I'm a community member in front of you. I forgot to say that at the very beginning, but thank you for letting us be here. Where we're going with this, so this map that I have is USDA Research Atlas Food Tract Atlas, and the yellow areas and the shaded purple are designated food deserts in Sioux Falls. I believe there are 6 schools that fall within these zones right now. And as a starting point for conversation, and it's not a conversation with you, but a conversation with the district when that time comes, is how can we think about some of the schools that are there, especially the Hawthorne, Hayward, and then I'm not familiar with All City and Jane Addams as well, but I do know Hawthorne and Hayward are Title I schools, and they are within the food deserts. So there are families there that could really benefit from not only educational gardening, but having that food available to them at any time free of charge. So if we're going to expand our partnership with the Sioux Falls School District, we need garden space. Luckily, you guys have a lot of green space at your schools, and you do have teachers that are interested in doing it. But in thinking, I would just plant the seed now and thinking about development, or if you redevelop any school, to think about how you can maintain some of those green spaces to maintain some of these opportunities for the kids that go there. We would need a school as willing, generous, and flexible as Eugene Field, my wife said it, but the teachers there are amazing, and Principal Mies is amazing. They've really helped us develop what we've had with our partnership, and then we need funding. So that's what we're looking for right now. Megan mentioned there is funding for the Sioux Falls School District to go after for Farm to School to get fresh fruits and vegetables in the snack and school lunch program. What we're looking for is expanding those educational gardens. And so specifically, we're looking at a USDA Urban Agriculture Implementation Project grant for up to $350,000. And I have just a real quick thing I want to show on that, where one of the core focuses that it has is to provide K-12 schools with educational resources or programs that increase student knowledge of and access to locally grown foods, emphasize the importance of consuming nutritious and locally grown foods, and train students in careers in agriculture or innovative production. So we feel that really fits well with us. Go back to the presentation. But we also feel that within the district, programs like CTE have a new agricultural program, and that might be a really good opportunity to incorporate older students to get involved with younger students, teaching and socializing, working together. And those schools are, again, they're just starting points for conversation. I've talked with Rebecca Wimmer a little bit about this, and with Andrew Jensen at CTE, but really, we're just here to let you know what's going on and tell you that we're excited that if we were to get funding, we really want that good faith effort from you guys to say, hey, we want to continue this, we want to expand this, we want to give kids an opportunity to get their hands dirty and to get some food.
Good time.
Wow.
Sorry.
I'll show you that last picture.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Great work.
All right, next we have Chad Bishop. So Chad, you will get 5 minutes if you will start with your name and address, please. And don't, if you are here to speak and you are done, don't feel obligated to stay. You're welcome to, but don't feel obligated.
Good evening. My name is Chad Bishop, and I live at 7405 South Valencia Drive. Oh, did you steal my paper copy? Sorry. It's an attempt for me to share things. So I live here in Sioux Falls. So I'm here today as a member of the Minnehaha Moms for Liberty chapter. I just wanted to thank President Saren Betts and Dr. Stavum for taking the time to hear our concerns about age-appropriate material in the libraries, and for also sharing their perspective on the problem and providing guidance on how we might move forward together. So we did discuss some of the motivations for us starting a Moms for Liberty chapter here in Sioux Falls. This piece I was going to keep short and just say thank you. I was going to try to give you all homework. There's going to be a link that I'll send to you. It's a comedic monologue by Bill Maher, so now keep in mind he does use salty language from time to time, but this last week they'll kind of set the stage for the discussion next week. So I wanted to encourage the previous speakers, huge fan of Farm to Table. And so I don't know if we can zoom in on that one, but that is the 20-minute presentation I gave to the board a year ago about the nutritional content of the menus that are provided in the school district. And so for those that are not familiar, we do serve USDA compliant meals, and there are restrictions upon salt content and that sort of thing, but there's no restriction upon added sugar content. And so I guess I document in that video and have provided that material prior that you can serve the USDA, or excuse me, American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Heart Association will define 25 grams of added sugar as the recommended limit for a child on a day-to-day basis. The World Health Organization goes about a little different. They do divvy it up by sex, boy and girl, and then by age, as far as the caloric composition of the meals that are to be served. But in this case, I guess what I documented there is a handful of meals that were egregious because I was spending time. I can't speak to all city, actually. We did have a garden for 11 years off and on. And so parents are really supportive of that idea there. And EIC, it'd be great to bring those kids and give them the opportunity too. So I'd highly encourage you reach out there. You'll find lots of folks to help you. But if you do understand the nature of the food served, there are some meals that are really good. There are some meals that are really terrible. And you can serve up to 121 grams of added sugar in a day if you're eating both breakfast and lunch there. And in the title schools where they do receive free breakfast, some of those meals are big offenders. And I do cherry pick a little bit of that data, but there is, overall, it's a problem. So we are serving a mix of highly processed food. I'm all for more whole foods. So you'll see no opposition here. But so I just wanted to offer that and say thank you. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. The next non-agenda item topic is regarding Renberg Elementary. And so we have 3 people who would like to speak on that topic. And they requested a certain order. You will each get 5 minutes. So the first person is Alexa Maud. So again, if you'll just give us your name and address, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board today. I'm Alexa Maud, and I live at 2600 North Aden Avenue. And since learning of the proposed boundary changes for Renberg, a group of parents have gotten together and met virtually, in person. We've met with school staff as well as administrators to try and come up with an alternative plan than what was proposed. This proposal to change the boundary for 2 years while we're building the new elementary school on the west side brings up many thoughts and feelings for parents involved. It's apparent that we're concerned of having our children move twice within their elementary years, and overall the impact that that can have on their mental, emotional, and social development. We recognize that strong, consistent relationships, not only with their teachers and classmates, are one of the key elements in developing a well-rounded, confident children. Hence why we're really eager to remain within the Renberg family. During the parent Q&A session last week, one suggestion that was brought forward was to provide a Hawthorne bus stop at Kinder Academy, which is located at Marion and North 60th Street. That is one of the daycare facilities that does provide transportation from their facility to and from the school of Renberg. And so being able to allow that opportunity for a bus stop there before it would go into the proposed district would help alleviate some of that stress for parents involved. However, today we also ask that you would consider grandfathering in with open enrollment protections for the families that have expressed interest in staying at Renberg. Those that wish to remain at Renberg have submitted open enrollment requests as of already. As of Saturday, that was a total of 15 requests. And we're asking that you would approve those requests and notify those parents by beginning of May would be ideal. So we would have time to just be prepared if we needed to come up with any other alternate plans for transportation or what have you. Allowing these students to remain at Renberg would also help in predicting the numbers of enrollments, as it's a nice stable community within our neighborhood. And it it would allow for those next 2 years of the boundary shifts, or the proposed boundary lines, to allow for some of those questionable enrollments within some of the apartment buildings that have been developed in our neighborhoods, to go to Hawthorne, which has more capacity to take on some of those questionable numbers of kids that would come in. Overall, as the affected parents of Renberg, we're asking the district to allow our children to be grandfathered in with those enrollment protections, providing that applications would be submitted by mid-March, which we feel the majority, if not all, have already been submitted. And we're willing to help be part of that process and create a solution that serves all kids the best way. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, I have Caitlin Snook.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Caitlin Snook, and I live at 2500 North Eden Avenue. I am a lifelong Sioux Falls resident, so my first exposure to the Sioux Falls School District was long before I became a parent. In fact, Dr. Nold was my high school principal, and I have to say, standing here speaking in front of all of you is a lot less stressful than the one time I was called into his office. I became a parent in the school district about 5 years ago when my oldest son, Oakley, started kindergarten at Renberg Elementary. His teacher, Ms. Hoglid, was so fantastic that we decided to have a second child and a third, just so that we could be parents in her class again. All jokes aside, there's something incredibly special about getting to experience that first day of kindergarten as a mom for the second time the way I got to. I was heartbroken when I received the news that my first grader might miss out on a repeat of the wonderful "I had your big brother" experience that greeted him on his very first day at Renberg, and that my youngest might not have the chance to ever set foot in the school at all. But then I realized what it would mean for Oakley, who is a fourth grader this year. If Oakley were the only child being affected by this, that would be unfortunate enough. But the fact that this will impact approximately a third of the children in this grade at this one school makes this more than just unfortunate, more than just a nuisance, more than an inconvenience that, as parents, we sometimes have to tolerate because we understand that school districts serve more than just our own individual child. But as I said, this is more than that. This particular group of kids that happen to fall within the proposed boundary change, which we fully understand the necessity for, are in for a challenging path in an already fraught time in life. The transition into middle school is already hard enough. The added disruption created by a change in your final year of elementary school, a school that for many of them is the only school they've ever known, is surely to cause complications developmentally, socially, and educationally. I know everyone here knows these things too. On top of that, they miss out on the opportunity to finish their elementary journey at the same school they've known, the school that taught them everything they know about school. It's the place that has molded them into who they are today. And it's not just about the learning that happens in the classroom. It's the experience that they have in the hallways, on the playground, and with the past teachers that they have built a lasting relationship with. My children still run to their old teachers and give them a hug every time they see them in the hallway. I'm being sincere when I tell you it hurts my heart to think about this. It's why I hope you can help us, why I hope you can give us parents an option to avoid the scenario I just described. Overall, as the affected parents of Renberg Elementary, we are asking that the district allow our children to be grandfathered in with open enrollment protections, providing the applications are submitted by mid-March. We are willing to help be a part of this process and create a solution that serves all students in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Crystal Schaffet. Thank you.
I won't make you say it. That's a hard one. Hi, my name is Crystal Schaffet, and I live at 4703 West Jacks. I have a 7th grader at George McGovern who is thriving. My second grader, Thomas, is why I'm here. I wasn't gonna cry. If the proposed boundary changes go through, Thomas will go to 3 elementary schools, having never moved. First of all, I want to thank you for hearing us tonight. I want to thank you for what you do. Taking the time to thoroughly go through things that affect thousands of children, which aren't your own, is a huge deal. The mere fact that you're sitting in those chairs tells me that you care about kids, and I appreciate that. It's funny, I'm going to go into my next line having said what I already did, but I'm not going to go into individual appeal or emotional appeal because those things are prevalent in every situation. I do, however, want to share with you why my husband and I chose Sioux Falls 2 years ago when we moved from out of state, because I think it illustrates a foundation in this conversation. When people ask why we moved to South Dakota from Southern California, many times I tell them that we chose Sioux Falls more than South Dakota. And the overwhelming reason we chose Sioux Falls was because of this school district. When doing our deep dives and our research, we were so impressed and encouraged by the district's opinion of parents. I believe that Sioux Falls School District sees parents as not only participants in their children's education, but one of the biggest, if not the most important driving force. I appreciate that this district values our opinion and overall view of what our children's educational journey should be. I feel in these boundary proposals, I'm left scratching my head because that doesn't line up. Parents were not only not consulted, I feel as if we weren't even considered. On the west side, instead of choosing an arbitrary geographical boundary, why not look at families who would be best served at each school? I believe there to be no bad schools in this school district. It is my 3rd year full-time subbing for this school district. I've been in all of the high schools, most of the middle schools, and a lot of the elementary schools. Sioux Falls does education well. Hawthorne and Renberg are both great schools with incredibly different strengths. I think the board, the district, the school, and most importantly, the students would have been best served if there was some sort of discussion or outlet for parents to be a part of the conversation. I think it would have been amazing to allow families to take audits of the things that both schools offer to see where they would want their child. It's possible that with a little bit more upfront legwork, you could have had a giant group of happy campers instead of a lot of angry people, which I know no one wants. But here's the deal. I understand the predicament that the district is in. I understand that people move in, I'm one of them, and buildings don't get bigger. What I'm having a hard time understanding is why my little neighborhood is being singled out. Why are we being made to move in preparation for buildings that are not even built yet? Why does our group have to move 3 times, having never moved? Why are the kids who were best served at Renberg not being allowed to grandfather in? Is there a way to change the boundary? Is there a way to start this discussion even from scratch? I have a lot of questions and probably even more asks. But in the interest of time, let me say the tagline you've already heard. Overall, as the affected parents of Renberg Elementary, we are asking for the district to allow our children to be grandfathered in with open enrollment protections, providing the application is submitted by mid-March. We're willing to be a part of the process and create a solution that serves all of us well. Again, thank you for what you guys do. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, I know that there are still meetings being held at some of the elementary schools and feedback is still being collected. So thank you for coming tonight to share your opinions. They certainly were heard and will be considered in the big overall picture. And then our next board meeting 2 weeks from today is when the decision or the vote will actually take place. So there is time for lots of considerations to be made yet. So thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item is people wishing to address the school board on agenda items. And so I'm just going to go in the order that they appear on the agenda. So we'll start with the Spanish immersion programming update. And I have 3 people that have signed up to speak. So you guys would get 15 minutes total, 5 minutes each. Do you have a preference of who comes up when or no? Susie. So again, just start with your name and your address, please.
I'm Susie Muntz, 1409 South Fifth Avenue, and I'm here as a parent of kids in the Spanish immersion program, as well as the PASI president this year, the Parent Advocates for Spanish Immersion. And I wanted to take the time tonight to come and listen to the ACTFL report, and also to thank the district for investing in that sort of feedback from the organization in order to continue to improve our immersion program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Graber. I live at 1720 East Edgewood Road, and I stood here in 2008 trembling because we were starting the immersion program, and my son is now in his second year of college, and I love the program. So I continue to be interested, and I read this whole heavy packet on the ACTFL report. I am a language teacher as well, so it was fascinating to read it. I'm here because I just want to encourage to everybody that this is really good stuff. But this is hard to read because it's technical. But there's a whole group of parents, and they asked me to come and sit in a meeting, the current parents, that they live this stuff at their supper table every night. So it's real. It just doesn't sound like this, because this is technical language, but they struggle with a lot of things. And so I want to encourage you to let's make sure it happens to make this the best immersion program. Hey, for sure in the Midwest, but maybe in the United States. We have incredible potential. And I saw it in 2008 with your commitment, and some of us are still here after 15 years. But so thank you for your work also. And immersion education, you know, it's not just teaching children language to go on a trip. The more I look at the news, language immersion is a program that is making Sioux Falls look really good, for one. People in Minneapolis are watching us, and that's exciting, so we are doing good things, but it's really gonna help the world. These kids are not only bilingual, but they get that culture part that's gonna help our society and the world. So it's a great program. Thank you for what you're doing, and I can't wait to see these things being implemented increment by, it'll take some time, but thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Allison Pay Crawford. I live at 207 East 29th Street, and I'd like to reiterate what the two other parents have said. This is so indicative of how the Sioux Falls School District has approached this program from the get-go. It's been strategic, it has been forward-thinking, and this report is going to be crucial, as you guys know, in building the success of this program for the future. So thank you. I am going to contradict something that Shannon said. She says that she knows that this is going to take some time. We really need to approach this quickly, because we have kids in high school who need changes to be made. We have kids in middle school who have who need these changes to be made, because this program is so robust, and these changes are going to ensure that it continues to be so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then the next topic we would consider would be the legislative update. So I do have two people who wanted to speak on legislative topics. So I think we'll start with Michelle Klemick. Is that right? Go, Amy. Amy, go first. Okay, so Amy Bruner. And so there's two of you. You each get 5 minutes.
Very good, thank you. First thing I want to do is apologize that my phone went off, because I'm sometimes a tech idiot, so I'm sorry. Good evening, my name is Amy Bruner, and I am at 3420 South Alpine. Last fall, my fourth grader came home from school with a book called The Breakaways. The book is a graphic novel, and when I read it, I was shocked. The story included two middle school children at a sleepover. They were pictured in bed, expressing romantic interest in one another, and then kissing. Fast forward a month or two, and my seventh grader brought home the book Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas from her middle school library. That book was also shocking because it described various sexual activities in graphic detail. This book actually meets the Merriam-Webster definition of the word pornographic. the depiction of erotic behavior, as in pictures or writing, intended to cause sexual excitement. At this point, I started researching, and what I found was disturbing. I found that there were entire websites dedicated to creating awareness of a long list of sexually inappropriate books that are being made available and targeted to minors. I searched the Sioux Falls School District Library catalogs, and I found literally dozens of sexually inappropriate books are available to children across our district in our school libraries. Going back to my 7th grader, the book The Haters by Jessica Andrews was available to her and downloaded directly from the school library onto her school-issued Chromebook. I'm gonna have Sue help me out here. The language in that book is sexually explicit, profane, and educationally unsuitable for a child this age. Because the language is harsh, I'm not gonna read it out loud. But for the next 30 seconds, I'd ask you to please read it on the handout that I've given you. In order to provide full public disclosure, the document that I handed you is the same one as in this QR code. Keep in mind that the school provided this to a 7th grader. I'll start my 30 seconds now. Just an FYI for you, this book is also listed in the school library catalogs as available by ebook to elementary schools across the Sioux Falls School District. We parents are told there's a challenge process we need to go through in order to have the district evaluate whether or not a book should be removed. But what about a process for the inclusion of books in the first place? Is there a vetting process? If there is, it seems to me it's clearly broken since we have a plethora of pornographic materials in our libraries available to children. How do we stop the onslaught of similar books that will come in the future? For every book we challenge and possibly remove, several more will take its place. It's a vicious circle. Make no mistake, this is not about banning books. This is about age appropriateness of these materials. We have rating systems for movies which restrict minors from viewing certain sexually explicit, violent, and pornographic materials. So why are we allowing minors to access these highly explicit, sexually inappropriate books from the school library? You can imagine my surprise last week in Pierre when a representative from the Sioux Falls School District testified as an opponent to House Bill 1163, which was a bill that would have prohibited the dissemination of sexually inappropriate material to minors in a public school library and provide a process for vetting materials. Due in part to the school district lobbyist, that bill was killed. At that hearing, we were told that the bottom line with materials falls on the elected body of school boards. So I'm here. We have another legislative opportunity. Senate Bill 193 will be in the Senate Education Committee on Thursday. That bill is written a little differently, but it would provide for a mechanism for review of instructional materials and include parents in the process and help keep materials that are harmful to minors out of their hands. In your current position statement, the school district is saying it will remain neutral on Senate Bill 193. But last week, your statement said the same thing about House Bill 1163, and your lobbyist came hard against it. So I would like to understand, what is the school district's real position on this? Our schools are funded by taxpayers. We parents trust you to educate our youth. We have a right to expect that our children are not provided with depictions of pornography in their classrooms or libraries. With that, I ask you to support Senate Bill 193. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our final speaker would be Michelle Klimek.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Klimek. I live at 4401 East Harwood Circle, Sioux Falls 57103. I and other concerned parents recently testified in favor of HB 1163. As Amy mentioned, it's titled Prohibit the Dissemination of Material Harmful to Minors in a Public School or Public Library. Well, during the hearing, there was a lot of talk and discussion about the process in which library materials are selected and how one can challenge material they may find inappropriate for minors. There does seem to be ambiguity and contradictions in the policies and process currently being implemented. As Amy pointed out, there also seems to be a conflict between what position you all decided to take on HB 1163 and what the lobbyist representing the district and school board actually took. So a lobbyist representing the Sioux Falls School District testified in opposition to the bill. I'd like to share a couple statements he made at the hearing, and I quote, "We have a pretty comprehensive policy that pretty thoroughly vets what goes into the library." Later he states, and I quote, "The individual school librarians and departments as a whole reviews books, and obviously when they're doing that, they may not be reading all of them." So his testimony defended the policies and process. What he did not defend is the sexually explicit material found in our libraries. So the lobbyist for the Associated School Boards of South Dakota also testified in opposition to HB 1163, and he stated, I quote, "Here's a key point, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. The bottom line with materials in a school falls on the elected body of school boards." He continued carefully defending the policies and process. He too did not defend the materials that's been put on you all, the local control body. When I look at the Sioux Falls School District policies, specifically NEPN code IJK, I read, "Librarians in consultation with teachers and administrators will select library resources and materials." A noticeable local control component missing from this policy, the parents. Another policy I want to touch on is the discipline matrix. Under sexual misconduct, it states that one will receive a Class 3 infraction if they are found to possess pornographic material, create pornographic material, or view obscene writings, drawings, photographs, videos, sound recordings, or the like. We know there are, in fact, materials of this nature available in our libraries. My next question would be, is a student exempt from this infraction if the pornographic material is approved by the district? Thank you for your time.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Deanne.
Good evening. Thanks for the time tonight to come up here and recognize all of you as school board members. The Associated School Boards of South Dakota recognizes the School Board Recognition Week as February 20th through the 24th. As you know, we are not scheduled to be here in this room next week, but we wanted to offer our thanks to you for all that you do. A number of people have mentioned your work this evening. But when you look in South Dakota law, a school board is defined as an elected body created according to the laws of the state to serve as a governing board of the district for the purpose of organizing, maintaining, and locating schools and for providing educational opportunities and services for all residents, citizens residing within the school district. Your own board policy, BA, goes a little more in depth to talk about your responsibilities, enacting policies, concerning yourselves primarily with broad questions of policy rather than with administrative details. The application of policies is an administrative task to be performed by the superintendent and his or her staff, who shall be held responsible for the effective administration and supervision of the entire school district. It also says that you are to provide for the planning, expansion, improvement, financing, construction, and maintenance of the physical plant of the district. As you know, we've been involved in those conversations with boundaries, and then again with construction of additional classrooms and new schools as well. Prescribing the minimum standards needed for efficient operation and improvement of the district, requiring the establishment and maintenance of records, accounts, archives, management methods, and procedures. Further, it goes on to say that you are responsible to approve the budget. We are all working on the budget right now, as well as many, and I believe 19 committees working on the budget. Those committees include administrators, principals, teachers, parents, and community members who go over and review those budget packets as they come forward so we can make sure we're efficiently using taxpayer dollars. Of course, estimating and levying the taxes for the operation, support, maintenance, and improvement and expansion of the district, adopting courses of study, providing staff and instructional aids, evaluating the education program to determine the effectiveness with which the schools are achieving the educational purpose for the district, and providing for the dissemination of information relating to the schools necessary for creating a well-informed public. That's a lot that you all are tasked with doing every single day. And so again, we say thank you for the work that you have put in. You are the equation that helps us be a successful school board or a school district. And so we thank you for the time it takes for you to serve on this committee. And again, not only for your own benefit and the benefit of your own children, but for the benefit of the 25,000 students in which we serve. The ASBSD has once again sent a certificate of recognition. I've updated it with the most current, and it will be hung in the back of the boardroom. So again, we thank you in advance of the recognition week for all of the work that you do. Second part of tonight's good news report. Yes, thank you. Second part of tonight's good news report is our school spotlight on Edison Middle School. And Amber Bloom is here to share with you.
Hello, my name is Amber Bloom, and I am the principal of Edison Middle School. This is my 20th year in the Sioux Falls School District and my 5th year at Edison. I feel extremely fortunate to share with you all this evening about a place that I consider my home and the people in my family. My assistant principal, Ms. Callis, is not able to be with us today as she is busy beginning the night of conferences, which I will be buzzing back to following this presentation. Yep, thank you. At Edison, our motto is your light to the future, one team, one dream. Our staff work together to hold these collective commitments and the work we do with our students. We use the acronym TEAM. Together, we champion for all students, expect excellence and growth, advocate for student safety, health, and learning, and meaningful relationships with our students, parents, and staff. A little bit about our school. We have 927 students at Edison. I broke out each of the grade levels there for you. We have approximately 96 staff members, including teachers and support staff. We serve in our home attendance area, the central and southwest portion of Sioux Falls. We have 41% of student diversity, 40.67% free and reduced lunch, and we are home to the Spanish immersion program at the middle school level, and we have 321 middle school Spanish immersion students at Edison, so they are a large part of our school. A fun fact is Edison will be 70 years old in 2024. It opened in 1954, originally as a grade school, and then converted to Edison Junior High in 1956. This video was made last year as an introduction of our school to our incoming sixth graders. We're currently preparing for our sixth grade orientation coming up in March, and so we're editing a few of the staff portions of this video, but it's a great example of the great things we do at Edison and gives you a peek into the classroom and into the school. Hello, future Edison Cats. I'm Mrs. Bloom, the principal of Edison Middle School. We are very excited to have you join our school. At Edison, our motto is one team, one dream. We believe we have something for everyone to feel connected and find success. We have an amazing staff and student body, and we look forward to getting to know you as you begin your journey at Edison.
At Edison Middle School, we have supports in place for every learner and their families, including a full counseling office, a building school resource officer, a school nurse, a team of administrators, and many more to help you along the way. At Edison, students start their day at 8:55 a.m. The day will consist of 4 core classes that include math, language arts, science, and social studies. In addition, students will have an opportunity to take several of our exploratory courses that we call encore classes. These classes will consist of options such as art, PE, computer sciences, music, Spanish, career and technical education, and many more. Healthy meals are one part of making a great day of learning. We have breakfast and lunch available every day. Breakfast is served every day starting at 8:30 a.m., and each student will have a 30-minute lunch period built into their schedule. There are many opportunities for students to get involved beyond that school day. At Edison, we provide a wide range of extracurricular activities. Some of these activities include band, chorus, orchestra, student council, athletics for 7th and 8th graders, web, kindness club, and many more. Many of our students ride the school bus to and from school. If you choose to provide your own transportation, school doors open at 8:40 a.m., earlier depending on poor weather conditions, and staff supervision outside of the building begins at 8:15. Students are expected to be off campus by 4 p.m. However, the YMCA provides an after-school program here at Edison for a fee. Each new school year brings about a sense of excitement as we welcome new and returning students and families to the Edison community. We look forward to seeing all of you cats in the fall.
One team, one dream. Go Cats! There we go. Some points of pride regarding our academic achievement at Edison. Edison teachers just completed a winter data dig at our last in-service. We examined student scores and our MAP assessment growth from the fall to winter, as well as trends in our district unit assessments. Here are some highlights from our data dig. When tracking our MAP data across a 2-year time period, we see significant improvement in our students as a whole. We are especially proud of our 8th grade scores as they increased their percentage proficient by 10% in reading and 11% in math. Our semester test scores for first semester ended strongly, and we're pleased with our overall student results. We maintain above the district and state averages in our South Dakota assessment in both ELA and math in the areas measured on the South Dakota report card, which includes student performance and student progress. And finally, during the 21-22 school year, Edison became a site with English language learner programming. We have different levels of EL support, including newcomer, sheltered, and English language development classes. Some of our Spanish-speaking EL students are able to participate in our Spanish immersion instruction through our Heritage Speaker Program. All EL students take a WIDA assessment and to measure their progress for the state. We had a significant increase in 4 of the 5 areas on that WIDA assessment, and we are extremely proud of our EL programming at Edison. We have many other points of pride. I decided tonight to speak a bit about PBIS at Edison. We are in our third year of implementation of PBIS at Edison, and we're extremely proud of that work that's happening. Our focus this year has been on continuing to strengthen our Tier 1 practices, which for all of our students include a focus on school-wide expectations, our Edison core values, which are listed on that screen, and positive reinforcement of those expectations and values. Our teachers work hard to teach expectations, reinforce expectations, and report expectations not being met as we are continually evaluating data and adjusting Tier 1 instruction needs to support our building. We emphasize positive reinforcement, utilizing a program to give points to students we see exhibiting set expectations and core values. Those points can be cashed in and used in our PBIS store, which is supplied by our generous and supportive PTO group. Each week, we have a specific weekly focus that is taught and reinforced using school-wide messages, lessons, and positive reinforcement by our staff. Along with our Tier 1 practices, we are in our first year implementing Tier 2. Tier 2 focuses on a smaller group of students that need extra support at school. We use 3 main strategies in our Tier 2 behavioral support system, including check-in, check-out, which focuses on mentorship, goal setting, and coaching, small group lessons focusing on regulation and school success, and behavior team responses and interventions to support the classroom and instructional needs of our students. We are extremely proud of the PBIS teams working in our building and the success we see with our student culture. Edison is a special place, and I feel extremely fortunate to each and every day work in it. What makes it special is the people, our students, our staff, and our families. We are all part of the same team to support our students' dreams and their futures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Or?
Way to go.
Yeah. As an Edison graduate myself, and then I had both of my daughters go to Edison, and they actually had a couple of my teachers. It's very strange, but it was very fun. It was very nostalgic. We were the Tomcats, so
Yes.
times have changed. They are now just the Cats.
Yep, we
There's
are.
no Tom. But it's the building is great, and my kids both had good experiences while they were there. So thank you for your leadership and for presenting the great things that are going on in your building.
Thank you all.
All right. We are on to number 9. Number 8. We have no new conflicts of interest to talk about tonight. Approval of the consent agenda 9A through F. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. And 10A. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes with 1 abstention from myself. All right. We are here finally at number 11. Anybody else need to stand up and stretch a bit? We'll start with the reports of the superintendent.
Well, we have a lot tonight on the agenda for reports. So I'm going to list them all, and then we'll just ask people who are representing those reports to come forward when it is their turn. First, of course, is the Spanish immersion programming update, and we appreciate our participants tonight. This is something that the district has invested in, and I wasn't here the last time this was done, but it's a good point in time to do this because we do have a unique, robust program in our district. We have something that many places would aspire to have, where we have such full immersion opportunities for our students. And yet we know to continue that good work and to expand and grow and refine, it's always good to have an external set of eyes on that, as well as our own internal experts who are working in that field or parenting children in that every day. So Dr. Zeke will bring that report to us. Then we're going to have a legislative update from Mr. Veek. As you know, things are moving a little more quickly now with things in committees and making it to both the House and the Senate floors. Then we have both first and second readings for a number of our policies, this evening. And so we are in the midst of making sure that we're reviewing those policies and moving those forward tonight as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Zeke for the Spanish immersion update.
Thank you, Dr. Stavum. Good evening, board. My name is Kirk Zeke again, and I'm honored to work with the Spanish immersion program. It's a fantastic opportunity for kids in our city, and it's just wonderful. The purpose of this report is to provide the school board with an overview of the Spanish immersion program review that was conducted by the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, also known as ACTFL. Falls under the priority area academic success with the initiative Embed College and Career Readiness Skills. There are 2 bullet points: diversify language acquisition opportunities for students and expand cultural knowledge, and, most appropriately, conduct a review of the Spanish immersion program, which just occurred. For those who are maybe unaware of the Spanish immersion program, I have a brief glossy overview of the history that continues to grow and evolve. In 2006, a group of interested people got together, some are in the room, and had this notion that kids should learn Spanish in the classroom. So we started in 2008 with 1 kindergarten classroom of 25 little students. In 2014, the first class began at middle school as they transitioned. Then the program had grown so much that the district decided to build its dedicated elementary at Sonia Sotomayor for one-way immersion. And in 2017, those first kindergartners entered high school. In 2018, we had our first ACTFL program review to help build and grow the program and see where we had been. In 2019, we introduced two-way immersion program, which began at Rosa Parks and Hayward Elementary Schools. And for those who are unaware, the two-way immersion program has 2 classes, and each class, let's say of kindergarten, is comprised half of the class of native Spanish speakers and half of the class of native English speakers, and they switch classrooms. They have half of their day in Spanish and half of their day in English. And those 2 buildings now have K1, 2, and 3rd graders in the two-way immersion program. In 2021, we celebrated our first class of Spanish immersion students as they graduated from high school. And just this fall, we had our second program review from ACTFL. ACTFL sent 2 reviewers to our district, Paul Sandrock, he's the ACTFL Director of Education, and Lynn Fulton. She acts as a consultant for ACTFL, and she's the dual language immersion education specialist for the Delaware Department of Education. A little overview of our program review. In July and August, they had the 2 consultants had preparatory discussions, getting an idea about the district and where the program is currently at, where it's been, where the buildings are, how many buildings there are, and such. In September and October then, they had a deep dive of program review documentation, and in November, they had a 3-day on-site visit. They observed classrooms and had interviews with multiple stakeholders. When they went out to each of our 5 buildings, they had classroom observations and interviews with administrators, teachers, and interns. They continued to interview others and came to IPC here and interviewed elementary principals and assistant principals. They had another meeting with middle and high school principals. They also had interviews with parents and instructional coaches and the director and coordinator of Spanish immersion. All these were separate interviews. There are 7 main areas of the review: program goals, program growth and articulation, system supports, proficiency targets, curriculum and instructional practices, and teacher and professional development. And from that, and from their experience in the district, they came up with many strengths. I've listed 4 here. Strong support from all stakeholders. They kept saying that over and over again, that parents, staff, interns, anybody they spoke with really enjoyed the program and found great benefit from it. Second, staff, and that's broken out into the 3 areas with the staffing. Their teachers and interns from around the world provide a rich cultural experience. Second, that we have 11 interns funded by PASI. We also have 6 interns funded by the district, as well as bilingual instructional coaches that serve each of the Spanish immersion buildings to help support teachers that ultimately help our kids. And third, K-12 language targets unify the program. And in this part, it's important to note that Spanish immersion students have performed well on the AP Spanish language and culture exam. So things are going well, they're doing things right. And finally here, but not finally, just the points that I have, the district is planning for growth of the program as the two-way immersion program continues to transition and will go into middle school. So we'll have some more kids in middle school. We need to find out what are we going to do with that. Then we had some recommendations. And the process that we chose to go with prioritizing these recommendations of where to start was we got together as staff. We had our district and building Spanish immersion administrators. We had our elementary, middle, and high school curriculum coordinators and our coaches in the Spanish immersion. We got together, and then the how was we broke out the recommendations. We got into small groups. We prioritized them by high, medium, and low. Then we had a whole group discussion and came out with the following 4 recommendations of high priority that need attention right away. The first, select the location of middle school programming. Like I said, we have 3rd graders in the two-way immersion program right now. That would entail 100 at Hayward and 100 at Rosa Parks. Those 200 kids in 2025 are going to enter middle school. And I'm not sure, is Mrs. Bloom here anymore? No, that's right, she had to go off to conferences, but that would be quite a load on Edison, so we have to figure out what are we going to do there. Second, prepare for two-way immersion growth in the 4th and 5th grades by reviewing the current scheduling and ensuring dedicated instructional time for science and social studies. That two-way immersion program is still relatively new. We're only in our 4th year. We've got some work to do to prepare for 4th and 5th grade. Third, create a systematic professional development plan for Spanish immersion staff. And in addition, identify some consistent look-fors that can help the teachers with self-reflection and peer observation. And develop additional high school course offerings that target that core content area as well as the elective classes. So we'll do some investigation on those prioritized recommendations. Moving forward, we'll share a summary of this ACTFL report with multiple stakeholders, including the World Language Immersion the World Language Immersion Committee that was developed to help guide and provide additional insight into the program and different perspectives. We'll work with district staff to create and implement plans based on prioritized recommendations, and we'll identify tasks to be completed that were also not on that prioritized list, but there are other things that we just need to do and get done. And we'll continue to work on those. And then finally, continued improvement of the program through analysis, reflection, and implementation. So for this evening, the administrative recommendation is to acknowledge the Spanish Immersion Program review conducted by the ACTFL group. I stand by for questions or comments.
Anybody have any questions?
You have more. You probably asked mine.
No, well, first of all, I want to say that disclaimer, my kids are in the Spanish immersion program. I had one that graduated last year and I have a sophomore at Lincoln this year. And I have been very involved in the program since its inception. So I do feel like I have a different maybe lens as a parent and then as a board member, but I greatly appreciate, as these parents said, the commitment to doing a review and knowing that we don't know everything and we have a lot to learn. And so asking for that feedback from other people who have experience, I think, is very valuable. So I very much appreciate that. I think that some of the things that stood out to me in the report were definitely the professional development pieces of it. And I think that I would love to see, and I know that's in the works, is kind of what that looks like. And I think it's important that when we say staff of Spanish immersion, that we understand that that means administrators at all of the buildings, because immersion education really is very different than your traditional education where you're teaching content, but you're also teaching language at the same time. And so I think having been in an elementary school where it was a strand of the school, it's challenging for that principal to almost feel like they have two schools. And so how can we support those staff members in making sure that they feel like they're prepared and knowledgeable to be able to support the teachers and the staff and the interns and the students and families as well. So I think the professional development is super important. And then I think the other challenge that I think we really need to focus on, and Dr. Zeke, you did mention both of those, but we kind of have both ends of the spectrum where we have the two-way immersion that really needs some tightening up, but we also have the other end where we've got the high school. And so really focusing, I don't know where you pick. I think you have to do all of it because the middle needs focus too. So I just think, I love that you had small groups and people are working on it. And so it's just that continuous monitoring of what is everybody doing at all those levels. I'm curious, as we're in budget season, what questions or what suggestions might come up that we may potentially see in a budget request. I know one of the things that I would love to see is a dedicated Spanish immersion instructional coach, even if it was as a TOSA for a certain amount of time, to really dedicate and give a big push now. And maybe that isn't as necessary 3 or 5 years from now when our curriculum is stronger and the lessons are there and we've got enough people. But I just feel like right now sharing that with numerous people is a challenge for that coach especially. And we have teachers who could really use that support from that 6th through 12th grade. So I don't know if that's a conversation that's been had at all regarding the budget and that role specifically.
I've not had that specific conversation with others, but as we work and continue to grow, we look to recommendations and we'll continue to review and modify as we go.
Okay. I didn't ask this question before, so I apologize if you don't know, you can get back to me, but currently in our district, how many students are encompassed within these programs?
I would say somewhere around 1,550.
So almost a high school, basically, right? I mean, for our number of students. So I think that I agree. I think it'd be interesting for us to look at our budget and see how we can budget that for that many students, because we're looking at, and I know they're not all in high school, middle school, but that middle and high school, that's the latest developments we've made, and they really need to strengthen that according to this report, as well as looking at it is 2 schools, because at Amber School, for example, right now over 1/3 of her school is Spanish immersion students at Edison, and you add in those two-way, depending if we maybe split into 2 middle schools off of two locations, whatever we do, we have a lot of students coming down the pike, so we really need to look at what we're going to do.
Well, and frankly, the location of where these students are coming from and what best meets the demands of each of those families and how the locations factor itself. But been that two-way immersion so encouraging, and the Heritage Speaking Program that Principal Bloom talked about, and just that exposure that the students get to each other is really rises all tides.
And that's in our 3 pillars. We look to that high academic achievement. We look to bilingualism and biliteracy, and that social cultural competency. That's so very important that in our two-way immersion, that half of the students bring with that heritage Spanish speaking background.
Yeah. Good work. Do we have a time frame? I know it just says select the location, but I feel like at one of our meetings, we talked about a tentative, like, are we hoping to have that identified by this fall? Are we talking about next spring? Has that been identified? I feel like I heard that somewhere, maybe not. Did I dream that?
I don't think we've nailed that down yet. I think that's still part of the discussions, and it's part of that bigger picture of some of our other student program moves. But that's something our groups have been spending a lot of time on, and we'll bring a recommendation. And, this is good. Feedback and information, and the challenge of the board, of course, is to balance all of this with all of our bigger pictures and with ESSER dollars going away. And that's something that I think we need to also keep reiterating as we hear the board update from Mr. Veek on the legislature. What is our state allocating so that we're able to maintain what we have right now at current programming, as well as making those adjustments to specific programs within our district to keep everything moving in a good direction. And so it's a good time to advocate for that as well.
Anybody else have any other comments or feedback?
I know the amount of time that our staff have put in with this, and so I want to thank Dr. Seek and Mrs. Clausen and others, Dr. Boyson, and the people who participated in the feedback with our visiting experts. People took their personal time to give us good feedback, and so we appreciate the willingness of people to help us with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Oh, sorry. Okay, with no other comments, can I get a motion and a second to approve the report and accept the recommendation or accept the acknowledgement of the report?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And a second, or in a, all those opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Thank you. Next, Mr. Veek.
It's pretty hard to read, but everybody hopefully has it on your laptops. We keep this, as we talked about last time, we try to keep this up to date as we go through it and keep it really very live. And so I am just going to, all the bills, the deadline for bills is over. So I'm just going to talk about the bills that are still alive where we have a specific position. You can stop me if you have questions. I'll just keep going until somebody has a question about something I'm saying. First up, with the House bills, 1014 is a bill we support. It updates SLP licensure provisions. That has passed both houses. 1055 we support. It's increased dollars for opportunity scholarships, and that's been referred to House Appropriations. 1060 we support. It's an increase in dollar amounts for bid requirements. That's passed both houses. House Bill 1122 we supported. It's a key bill. It's 10th grade dual credit. Education killed that bill. I think it was this morning, if I remember right. Yes, the board got an update on that. So that bill died this morning. And 1123 is our bill as well. We support it. It allows 4-year terms for school board members if the school board is so inclined. It was amended to allow 2-year terms if the school board is so inclined. That is on, the way it looks like it's on the consent agenda tomorrow. So that passed out of it had no negative votes in the committee. So it looks like it's on the consent agenda for tomorrow. House Bill 1199, we opposed. It requires post-election audits for all elections. That's in State Affairs on Wednesday. House Bill 1234 is key. We oppose it. It phases in vouchers for students at private schools, and that's up Wednesday in education. Over to the Senate. Senate Bills 3 through 6 we support. Those are juvenile justice summer study bills. They passed the Senate. Senate Bill 24 is what Dr. Staven was mentioning. That's the governor's proposal, which is 5% increase in state aid. That was sent to joint appropriations. Senate Bill 59 funds CTE infrastructure. That was amended in committee and then in education committee and then referred to appropriations. Senate Bill 65, we oppose. It reduces the required attendance age to 16. That is on the 14th. That is in Education Committee. Senate Bill 76 allows the Secretary of Ed flexibility for provisional licenses. That has passed the Senate. We support that. Senate Bill 118 is reduced tuition. It includes early childhood teachers that are eligible for reduced tuition. That's been referred to joint appropriations. Senate Bill 120 is the bill to allow industrial development corporations a tax-free exemption on the property, increasing it from $750,000 currently to $10 million. That's in Commerce 214. I know they're looking at potentially lowering that amount, and that bill might become a neutral for us. That $10 million just seemed like a lot of money, especially since there's no time limit on it. Senate Bill 125, we oppose. It prohibits new immunization requirements. That's in the Education Committee on the 14th, tomorrow, I guess. Senate Bill 129, we support, and that increases assault penalties on school staff. It's kind of similar to assault penalties for correctional officers and the likes like that. So that would add school staff to that. So we support that, and that's up in Ed. Senate Ed tomorrow on the 14th. So those are the bills that we have an opinion, position on, either oppose or support, that are still alive. And then the one that died today, that was one of our key bills. Any questions, comments?
No, and just for the public, since we only meet every 2 weeks and vote on this, sometimes our positions might change or because bills get amended, et cetera. So it's always good to go to our website to go and look and see what our positions are live, since those things do occur during session and so forth in the meantime.
Any other comments or questions? No? All right, can I get a motion to approve the legislative update, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please confirm by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. And now on to the policies.
Okay, so reporting from the Policy Review Committee here, as a part of our continual review of our policies and regulations. We have 7 on the agenda tonight. Looks like a lot on the second page, but that's just because they're in 3 different categories. One of them is on a first read. 3 are up on a second reading and for board approval. And then the final 3 are up for approval on a review revise. So on the first one, that's just up for a first reading, that's IKF, the graduation requirements and its accompanying regulation. There's fairly extensive changes to this policy and regulation. The reason is that all these changes are to remove the sunset language. That's no longer necessary following full implementation of the change to the graduation requirements that happened a few years back. So with that, this policy and its regulation will be up for a second reading on March 13th. If you have any comments, you can submit those. And for now, I just ask the board acknowledge the first reading of this policy and its accompanying regulation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Nobody, so those pass. First read.
The next 3 policies, JJAB, JJH, and JJI, and their accompanying regulations, had a first reading last month and are up for a second reading and approval tonight. The district did not receive any comments related to these proposed changes, and if there's no questions, I'd ask for the board approval of these policies.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Second read passes for those 3.
And then finally, the remaining 3 policies in the materials tonight are up on a review revise. There are only minor changes to the first EEBB, and that would allow staff to submit travel to within the district and neighboring school districts, similar to the way that other staff submit their in-district travel, which would just make it a little bit more efficient for central office staff and for that staff submitting their travel reimbursement. And then the other 2 policies, EF and JJG, the Policy Review Committee is not recommending any changes. So with that, I'd ask for approval of those on a review revise.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Those also pass. Thank you, Brett. All right, anybody else have any other comments or questions? No? Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for no, and nobody opposed. Meeting is adjourned.